So, YFN Lucci's big brother YFNK encouraged him to get into rap when he was a teenager.
My big brother, his name YFNK, he been rapping since I was like 13. Inspired me, made me want to make music. I started rapping, I freestyle for my big brother.
But obviously his big brother, who was an aspiring rapper himself, wouldn't really be able to get him into the industry. But fortunately for Lucci, having ties in the streets meant he had a network of people to draw upon who might just be able to give him a head start in the rap game. In fact, one of his closest friend's older brothers was Big Nut, that same man that Young Thug had described on Birdman's yacht as one of the biggest bloods in America. And Lucci would go on to say that Big Nut heard his music and truly believed in him.
Now, you had a close friend named Nut.
Yeah, that was one of my best friend, big brothers.
Uh-huh.
And he would just like believe in me, like when he used to hear my music and shit.
In fact, it was actually Big Nut himself who had introduced YFN Lucci to Fly, who had managed Rich Homie Quan and Trinidad James as part of his record label, Think It's a Game.
Yeah, he introduced me to
Take that
Fly.
shit serious,
Bro, I know this person, we're gonna try to fuck with this person. But then we were fucking with somebody like, man, I don't think he know too much. I'm gonna introduce you to Fly.
Yeah, Fly had Rich Homie Quan, he also had Trinidad James.
Yeah, so Nut introduced me to them. When he introduced me to them, now they were fucking with the music.
In fact, YFN Lucci would later reveal in a DJ Smalls Eyes interview that it was Nut who introduced Lucci to Fly, saying that Lucci was the hardest rapper out and that he would listen to a strategy if Fly put one together for him.
He introduced me to Fly. He was like, man, Fly know, like, man, shout it. Hard, like ain't nobody harder than him, man. He want to do it, he love doing it, so he gonna do it and he gonna listen. And Fly, Fly, but that was his man, and he believed in him.
Clearly Nut's word held weight in the streets and in the rap game, and purely off the strength of Nut's recommendation and his first mixtape that was completed but unreleased at this point, Fly decided to give Lucci a chance, releasing his tape Wish Me Well under Think It's a Game Records. With Lucci also getting a care pack courtesy of Fly, a feature from his label mate Rich Homie Quan, for Lucci's first single, Exactly How It Was. And so, all thanks to Big Nut, Lucci finally had an opportunity to break into the rap game fully legit. And from here, Lucci would go on to have big career W's working with Think It's a Game Entertainment. But the saddest fact of all would be that Big Nut, the man that made it all possible for him, wouldn't be around to see it. On January the 11th, 2015, YFN Lucci's close friend and mentor, Big Nut, real name Donovan Thomas, is shot dead at an Atlanta barbershop.
And now to a developing story this morning. The search is on for the person who shot 3 people, including a 14-year-old. One man died.
Neighbors in Atlanta's Castleberry Hill neighborhood heard the gunfire around 7:30 Saturday night. She saw 3 young men on the ground. Atlanta police say a teenager and a man in his 20s were both shot in the leg. The third, 26-year-old Donovan Thomas, was critical.
Had a significant injury. We had at least multiple gunshots in the upper torso area. He was rushed to surgery.
Thomas died at the hospital. Homicide detectives looked for bullet holes and brought in a police canine to search for more shell casings. They believe it was a drive-by shooting.
Police believe the 3 two-adult men and a 14-year-old were targeted. Triple shooting outside this barbershop ended the life of 26-year-old Donovan Thomas.
Big Nut was loved and respected by the YFN crew and in the streets of Atlanta at large. And following his death, clips of him with the likes of YFN Lucci circulated on social media, showing just how close these two really were.
Cut, man, straight up, man. Salute to you, big bro. We fucking with you, man.
Following Nut's death, it's said that there was a massive fallout in the Atlanta music scene. YFN Trey Pound told DJ Smalls Eyes just how shocked he was to hear about Nut's passing, with Lucci also speaking on the loss of Nut in his Karen Civil interview, remembering how Nut had been the first person who put him on in the rap game.
I lost one of my homies who really got me on. Long live Nut forever.
Now, as far as I could tell, the police never announced any arrests or suspects in the killing of Nut. And while there's no concrete evidence to suggest that anyone associated with YSL had anything to do with Big Nut's murder, a lot of YouTube videos already exist explaining that theory. Countless comments have popped up on Reddit threads relating to this incident, suggesting YSL had something to do with what happened to Nut. But perhaps most significantly, the Atlanta police would later say, in an indictment targeting YFN members, that local police intelligence suggested that it was widely believed that YSL was somehow responsible for Big Nut's death, going on to state that it was this belief that directly caused the hostility between these two groups. Now, whether or not this is actually true, we'll probably never definitively know. But it is clear that following the death of Nut, a big rift emerged between Atlanta rappers. Rich Homie Quan, who at this point shared management with YFN Lucci, but was also closely involved in Young Thug and Birdman's Rich Gang project, would take a step back from things, with Rich Homie Quan's relationship with Thug famously declining, and Quan just generally taking a step out of the limelight. It would also appear that the former collaborative relationship between Bloody J and Young Thug would never be the same same again too, as Bloody J would continue to collaborate with YFN Lucci, but not Thug. At a certain point, the city of Atlanta basically split into two halves, and according to the police, this is when the beef truly heated up, with the cops reporting that as many as 37 incidents and 4 subsequent murders that they believe were linked to this original inciting incident. But as both YFN Lucci and Young Thug would continue to have success in the music industry, picking up thousands of fans and making millions of dollars from their songs, eventually their beef would also make its way into the music industry for the entire world to see. Because no matter how much they wanted to keep their street politics secret, eventually this beef would play out very publicly and very bitterly.